It was mixed emotions. It was intense pride, but also some trepidation. However, again, I had that comfort that no matter what happened, he would be okay.
Like so many mothers before her, Connie McClellan faced the uncertainty of war when her son John signed up to serve in the United States Marine Corps.
When he left on that bus from the recruiter's office on that day that he went off to boot camp, that was tough.
Since then, the 23-year-old Lance Corporal has served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he has the medals to prove it. Since going to war, he's received not 1, but 3 Purple Hearts. The first came while he served in Afghanistan. Connie remembers it well.
Our communication of choice was instant messaging, and so we were on the computer, and he was like, "Hi, Mom. Hi, John. How's it going? Oh, it's going good. How's it going with you? Oh, it's good." And then he types, "Now, don't freak out, but I got my first Purple Heart today." And I'm like, whoa, the fingers are flying. I'm like, oh, my gosh, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm like, well, what happened? Well, a bullet ricocheted off the turret, and it grazed my wrist. I'm like, oh, it just grazed your wrist? Yeah, it just grazed my wrist. I'm like, okay, were you okay? Okay, yeah. Well, a couple days later, I got another email from him, and come to find out it had embedded in his wrist. So they had to do surgery to take that out.
John soon returned to duty. 3 days later, he was shot again.
Well, we were in a firefight again. This time the bullet went in my right arm and out the back. And I am freaking out. I'm like, tell me about your arm. What's going on? Tell me about your arm. He's like, I'm fine, Mom, I'm fine. And at this point, I don't think he's being truthful with me. I think he's just trying to downplay it. But it did. It went in and out of his arm and didn't hurt anything.
Fellow soldiers nicknamed him Lucky. Within 2 weeks, John was back in the turret, this time in Iraq.
We got a phone call at 12:15 at night, and at that point, I'm thinking it's John. Very quickly into the conversation, I realized that it was not John. It was a doctor in the hospital in Balad informing us that John had just sustained an extremely grave injury. He had just endured 5 hours of surgery. He had been shot through the head by a sniper. The bullet went in here and out the back of his head. At this point, he said it was just a very grave injury, and he would have the doctor give us a call back in an hour. And the doctor did. He called us back in an hour. And his words to us were, if he survives the brain swelling, which is our first immediate concern, he will not be the same and will more than likely be in a vegetative state.
The doctor told Connie her son had a 95% chance he wouldn't make it.
We were really in a state of shock. And in retrospect, I don't even know how we made it through the night.
She started emailing everyone she knew, asking them to pray for her son.
I sent out the email to them, told them what had happened, led them in prayer that God would heal John, and first that he would allow him to live, and then that he would heal him.
People all over the world prayed, and the next day, Connie received amazing news.
24 hours to the minute after the first phone call, the doctor called back, and he indicated that John had done a 180, and that his condition was amazing. He was still unconscious, but they had given him all these tests, and he was testing positively.
Even though John beat the odds, he still faced an uphill battle. He'd lost the ability to control most of his bodily functions. He was transferred to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Connie filled her email prayer chain daily with very specific requests.
When they took out that breathing tube, he could only speak with one vocal cord. So that was another prayer that we sent out, asking God to heal that. And 45 days later, it was healed. You know, he couldn't walk, he couldn't use his left arm. I mean, there were so many really, really critical needs that he had. And we would send out those prayer requests for those needs. And either that day or that week or that month, and sometimes even that next year, we would get the answers to those prayers.
Connie's small email prayer army grew from 80 people to 350. And over the course of the coming months, she sent out hundreds of emails.
The doctors would come in, and this would be the report, and it'd be just like, oh, praise the Lord, and I'd have to share with everybody. And oh my goodness, the response that I was getting from people, and they just were so uplifted and encouraged by what was going on, knowing that we sent out this prayer and we got the answer to it. It just was such an encouragement to everybody who was plugged into this story.
Well, I like to do all that physical kind of stuff, 'cause that's what I used to like to do before. And when I first woke up in the hospital, that was my biggest fear, was that I wasn't going to be able to do any of that kind of stuff anymore. And so now that I can do it, I just do it as often as I can.
John's goal is clear.
I want to try and go to college. Like, my brain's still recovering, so I got memory issues that I'm dealing with. But I think going to school is going to help me out, and having a degree wouldn't hurt either.
Connie has even developed a website so people can see a detailed account of her son's incredible healing. John says the prayers of the people have affected his life.
It makes me feel loved, and one, too, I mean, the prayers definitely paid off. I don't think I would have made it this far if all those prayers didn't work.
It was prayer, in my opinion, that saved him the first injury, saved him the second injury, and it certainly saved him the third injury, but it also enabled him to recover to the extent that he has from that injury. And it was all one prayer at a time. We sent out one prayer at a time, and one answer at a time would come through. I look at him, I talk to him, I listen to him, and I just am so in awe of what God has done for this young man, considering what the injury was. Every day I'm in awe.